Greetings, it's the Timeshare Traveler. Today is episode 325. I've used timeshare stays for 1 out of 4 stays. The reason I came up with that is I own about enough points, and it varies based on how I use them, to book roughly 3 months of a year where I could pick Hawaii and be in a nice, 1 bedroom or even 2 bedroom, and I can do about 3 months. It varies based on seasonality and stuff like that. But I actually stay full time, so I do 4 times the stays, and then my points would be, and that's through stretching. So this is a guide to ultimate point stretching that I have done for the last couple years because I have not bought more points, and I'm able to stretch and live full time in timeshares and various other locations. So the way I do that is I use my points for my priority stays, the ones where that's really the only choice you got. That's typically, family vacation in Hawaii. If you wanted to go to Las Vegas for the Grand Prix, I didn't, but if you did, that would be one you'd have to probably use your points. Then I want to talk about free stays and how I treat myself. And that way I use that. I have a lot of exchange stays. That's how I really end up stretching. It's probably the number one stretching method I use. And then I'll talk about how I stay with other ways without purchasing points. So without further ado, let me get into that. At the very end, I'll tell you about my channel. But really, this is about stretching your points. You don't need to buy as many as the timeshare salespeople would say, because you can stretch. And actually, they will help you learn how to do that. And I've gotten great advice from the salespeople on that. So the first trick is use your points for your priority stays. It really comes down to make sure that the ones that are really hard to get, you can do that, and then use the other methods that we'll talk about here to sort of fill in sort of getaways and a little quick take advantage of things. So you got to know the booking windows, and I'm not going to go through that. I've done individual videos for that. You can find them on my channel. Book family and holiday vacations. So I booked a Hawaii vacation for 2 weeks for me, my daughter and her partner, and the grandbabies and the in-laws. So we're gonna all have 3 bedroom. Those are really hard to get in Hawaii, so I had to book that very hard. And I booked Christmas in California, so we can sort of all get together, use an oven, and not have to worry about cleaning it up. And it's just easier than staying at any one person's place. That we'll probably do that next year. This year we're doing Monterey, California. Planning other getaways. I have 3 adult children, and I try to plan something special around each one of them. My son loves Las Vegas. We've done a trip to Las Vegas this year, and we then went to Hawaii. My oldest daughter has twins, and we'll be in Hawaii. That one I already mentioned up above. And my middle daughter likes museums or beach, and we're in the middle of discussions of where we want to go. If we may want to go to Washington D.C. She's always wanted to do the museum tour, so we might do that. So I'm in the middle of doing that. Now, the other thing I use prior points for is I have a world mark tied to interval, and I upgrade. I call it upgrade because the world mark compared to Marriott, the Marriott's a little high end, but you can actually use world mark points to book them, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. What I've done, I've already got a ton of them booked in 2026. So let me jump to free stays. Okay, free stays. The first thing is make sure you book when you have an owner update, take the points, because credit card free stays. I have 2 free Bonvoy stays. That's up to 35,000 points. I'll use those for like a weekend getaway. I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I just sort of have that available, and it's the same hotel booking. And believe it or not, somehow with the Hilton Aspire card, I ended up with one I get for generic, but I was using it to purchase everything. All of my exchange purchases go on that card, and it ended up where I ended up with 2 additional. So I have 3 nights to stay at a Waldorf Astoria, and those are like $800 a night. I'd never do that. I shouldn't say never, but I can't imagine myself spending $800, but I get to stay there, and it includes free breakfast at the Waldorf Astoria. You have, I think, a $50 benefit that you get by being a diamond, and that to get the diamond status, even if you don't stay in hotels a lot, if you have the Aspire card, you're immediately diamond. So you get the benefit plus one free stay, and I happened to this year, because of all the exchange stays, ended up basically paying my rent on my credit card, which ended up getting me more stays. I have 300,000 plus Wyndham Rewards points, and I'll probably earn some more. Always take the points on vacation, on owner updates, and that's now worth 10 free nights. They doubled it, which is a bummer, to 30,000 per night per bedroom, and so I'll use that for 10 nights. Better than nothing. I also have $700 because I'm a Premier Plus in Hilton Grand Vacation. I used it this year in Vegas for a 2-bedroom at the Elara, which was amazing. I used it at one of the end units, so you have a giant bedroom of like 400 square feet in it, and the reviews on the channel. And you use that within 30 days. So I used that. And then because of one of the sales presentations I went to at Marriott, I ended up with 500 destination points for attending a sales presentation. And that, just so you know, 900 points, destination points, will get you a 1 week in a parlor, which is really a studio in the island of Kauai. So that 500 destination points, these are examples of how I get free stays. It's often from owner updates, taking the points, not the credit card fees, and also using credit cards for all of my expenses that I can then use in timeshares. So there's a lot of ways to get free stays, and you can extend yourself. You can see I've got at least 5, maybe 10, 15 stays, maybe 20, almost 20 days at least that I can stay here just on the free stays just on this list. And that doesn't include if I'm actually going to use just regular Bonvoy points beyond just the credit cards and the hotels, the points I have. I couldn't have done the stretching without the exchange stays. And I do a lot of exchange stays, and they're cheaper than if I had booked the same thing with my maintenance fees. So if you do them kind of at the last, I won't call it last minute, but it's usually 90 days out or 45 days, depending on your situation. So I'm doing more and more of this. I did a bunch in 2025, but I'll do more in 26. And like I say, I booked, I think, like 30 some weeks this year with exchange. And I've got 12 booked already, and I'm only into early March. So here's what I've done. I've done the GPX Insider Deals. I think it's Insider Specials. I think it's not Insider Deals, Insider Specials for $3.99 a week. I've got interval stays using WorldMark points at Sheraton, Hilton, Holiday Inn, and Hyatt Timeshares. And what am I going to do more of? I'm going to do more excess inventory stays. That's what I call the sort of last call, the GPX. Those are kind of there. They have excess inventory, so they put some of that into the exchange. I'll do interval short stays. That's going to be my treat. I'll get 2 or 3 days, probably midweek, but I'll get it in exclusive Hyatts or Marriotts, maybe in Tahoe is probably what I'll do during the summer. Get some sort of getaways. And then I'll use the Club Pass to book some Club Wyndham locations with my WorldMark. It's kind of a different way to use points. I won't go into that in great detail, but I've got information on how to do that in my channel if you search for Club Pass. And my last point is you can stay without purchasing more timeshare points, because those are really expensive and they've got maintenance fees and you got to use them every year. So when I say I used my timeshare, I book only my timeshare stays 1 out of 4. I recommend if you have a week, you should be figuring out how can I get 3 other weeks without having to purchase more points. And that's just my challenge to you, because that's what I'm able to do on a mass scale, and I could do it with less. So I can do that. I help my kids get their own vacations by doing exchanges, so it's probably even greater than that. And you don't have to always spend money to buy points. So I'll use a WorldMark Inventory Special and Monday Madness to pay with cash. And it's basically the same price as maintenance fees, but I don't have to buy the credits up front. I use the Hilton points that I've earned from the stays and my use of my credit cards to stay at timeshares or hotels with kitchens. I call that Timeshare Light. There's a lot of hotels that have kitchens in them. I use my Bonvoy points for timeshare stays or hotels with kitchens. Just so you know, I have 2 million in Hilton Honors and 1 million Bonvoy points that I use kind of as my bank in case I can't get a timeshare. That way, that's how I'm able to sort of do that last minute specials. Because if I have to, I'll fill in with a hotel with kitchen for a week if I can't keep doing that. But I've actually booked the same room and been in the same bed for 3 months at a time. So it's definitely doable. So it doesn't have to feel like every week you're moving somewhere. I've Wyndham Rewards points to stay at timeshares. I think, and then I'll also use Exchange to book into the same timeshares. But I can book Exchange reservations, cash. I mentioned GPX. I've also done interval so far this year or going into 2026. And again, this is cheaper than booking the same reservation and having your maintenance fees. If you look at the cost of the maintenance fees to book the vacation, all of these exchange reservations I'm doing cost me less money than if I had owned the points already. And again, I'm going to reiterate my last point. Always take points from owner updates. They can be used to stay in more locations versus just getting a meal with a credit card. There's much greater value. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Don't forget to give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. Hi, this is Cliff, and I'm the Timeshare Traveler. Welcome to my channel. The purpose of my channel is to educate those who love traveling in timeshares. I've been an owner for 15 plus years at timeshare ownership. I have elite ownership with Marriott, Hilton, and Worldmark. I have published over 100 timeshare video reviews, and I've published over 95 timeshare tips. I can be found on Facebook at Timeshare Trav, at Twitter, Timeshare Trav, and on the web at www.timesharetraveler.com.